So if you have 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. Do you remember how to find the midpoint? No? You add the x's and divide by 2. Then you add the y's and divide by 2. We're averaging the x's and we're averaging the y's. Oops, divide by 2. Because the midpoint's halfway. Okay, slope formula. Blair, what's the slope formula?
Y2 minus Y1 equal M parentheses X minus.
I don't want the point slope equation. I want the formula.
Oh.
So slope is equal to Y2 minus Y1 over what?
Oh, sorry. X2 minus X1.
So just the formula to calculate slope, not actually a point slope equation. You know what, over here, I'm going to write midpoint. I want you to think that that's the end like slope. Formula for midpoint is add the x's divided by 2, add the y's divided by 2. Formula for slope is subtract the y's and subtract the x's. Make sure you do it the same order and divide them. Okay, and then distance formula is the square root. This is one with a big square root in it. X2 minus X1 squared plus Y2 minus Y1 quantity squared. Okay, now this problem is giving you ordered pairs. I don't really care about like taking a grid and plotting the points and seeing exactly what it looks like, but I do want to have a little sketch just so we can kind of like draw on it and sort of figure out what it's describing. You will have a problem like this on your homework. You guys are all capable of doing it. Do not write down garbage. Don't leave it blank. Try it, do it. I know you can all do distance and midpoint and slope. Okay, so draw yourself a triangle. Don't make it look equilateral or right or anything because you don't want to think it's something special. Okay, I don't even care, again, if the points are plotted correctly. I'm just going to label all the points. K is the point 2, 3. L is the point -2, -1. And M is the point 5, 1. So then it's telling you in part A, find the coordinates of N, which is the midpoint of segment KM. Okay, so I'm going to use purple because we're doing midpoint. I did purple up above for midpoint. Okay, this point is supposed to be halfway between those two, and it's called N. N is the midpoint of segment KM, is what the problem says. Okay, so N, remember you add the x's and divide by 2. I'm going to do it over here with the picture just to make it easier to kind of see what's happening. Okay, so remember that midpoint is going to be 2 plus 5 divided by 2 and 3 plus 1 divided by 2. So 7 halves and then 4 divided by 2 give you 2. If you want to write that as 3.5, that's fine. Okay, so N is the point. Sorry, I'm going to drag that over here. Okay, so there's N. And then P is the midpoint of segment LM. So P is that point right there. I'm going to go ahead and put that's 3.5 comma 2 for N. For P, it'll be -2 plus 5 over 2 and -1 plus 1 over 2. Diamond, what is that simplified? Diamond, what is that?
3 over 2 And 0/2.
Yeah, and 0/2, which is just 0. Okay, and again, if you want to write that as a decimal, that's fine. What is 3/2 as a decimal?
1.5.
So 1.5 comma 0. All right, now it says show that segment NP is parallel to segment KL. So let's actually draw segment NP. Now remember, P was the midpoint of that side. How would you describe segment NP? How would you describe segment NP?
Wouldn't they be mid-segments?
The mid-segment. Braden, how do you know it's a mid-segment?
Because they're midpoints and both of them are congruent
Yeah,
on
so
both sides.
yeah, you're joining a midpoint to a midpoint. That means segment NP is a mid-segment. And then KL is the side of the triangle that it's supposed to be parallel to. So what we're doing is verifying that these actually are parallel. What formula do you use when you want to show parallel? Max, what shows, oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. What shows parallel? I'm trying to show that this segment is parallel to that segment. How do you show parallel? What formula will show parallel?
How would you show parallel? Like what? I don't know what formula you're talking about.
You know, let's say I give you two equations like this. Are those lines parallel?
Yeah, they're parallel
How do you know?
because their slope is the same.
Okay, so we're going to show that these lines are parallel by finding what? Which formula should we be using? Midpoint, slope, or distance?
Slope formula.
So when it says show that they're parallel, that means show they have the same slope. Let me switch this to pink. Okay, so NP, and again, I'm just going to go ahead and calculate it. Actually, I can look at it up here. Let me go ahead and write these in decimal form. So that was, I wrote on the picture over there, but 3.5 comma 2, and then 1.5 comma 0. So when we do the slope of segment NP, change in Y, 2 minus 0. Change in X, 1.5 minus 2, minus 3.5. Oh, sorry, wait, I didn't do it in the same order. I thought I was doing the bottom minus the top, but I'm not. I'm doing the top minus the bottom. 2 minus 0, and then 3.5 minus 1.5. So 2/2 is 1. Okay, that slope is 1. We'll do the same thing for segment KL. Drew, tell me how to find the slope of segment KL.
So you use the points of K and L.
Mm-hmm. Give me the calculation.
Does it matter which one is Y or X?
Well, yeah, it matters which one is Y or X. It doesn't matter which one you start with, though. It's always X comma Y. So subtract the Y's.
Oh, I thought you.
Slope
So
is,
it would be -1
and then what on the bottom?
over -2 minus 2.
Okay, so -4 over -4 gives us 1. Okay, what did we just show? This for anybody. What did we just show?
That the slopes are parallel.
that the lines are parallel, right? The slopes are the same. That means that the lines are parallel. Okay, and that's not surprising because that's what the theorem says, but we're just verifying that that's true. Okay, for this, you're going to see a problem like this on the homework. Okay, you're doing midpoint 2 times and you're doing slope 2 times. Okay, and this tells you that segment NP is parallel to segment KL because slopes are the same. Okay, and then for the last part, it says show that segment NP is 1/2. I don't mean segment. Show NP is 1/2 of KL. You don't have to have the parentheses there, but it might be good. Okay, so what is that asking you to do? When it says NP, what formula are you using? What are they asking for when they say NP?
The distance
Distance
formula.
Right? I'm going to go ahead and copy the points N and P just so that they're like right here in front of me. And I don't have to keep scrolling around. Okay, so this is N. And then this is P. Distance formula. So NP is going to be square root of different, and it doesn't really matter if you do the difference in the x's first, the difference in the y's first, but remember you subtract 3.5 minus 1.5, square that, and then subtract the y's. 2 minus 0, quantity squared. Okay, that's going to be the square root. 3.5 minus 1.5 is 2, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So the square root order of operations will do 4 plus 4, which is 8. How does the square root of 8 break down? Okay, 2 on the outside. What's left on the inside? It's not 4.
4.
Oh,
It's 2.
oh, it's 2. Yeah, it's 2.
Yeah, this guy would be left over, right? So you have 2's. 2 2's go out as a 2, and then 1 2 stays inside. Remember, you can also think of that like the square root of 4 times the square root of 2, which is 2 root 2. I kind of do it that way in my head. Okay, so that length is 2 root 2. If we're supposed to show that that's half the length of KL, then think about what that should mean KL's distance, KL's length is. Okay, so K was, I'm going to copy these down so I don't have to scroll. L was the point -2, -1. Okay, there's K and there's L. Okay, so KL, square root of change in the x would be 2 minus -2 be 2 plus 2. And then 3 minus -1. Maybe it's better for me to write a double negative there. We can change the sign. So square root, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 squared. 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 squared. 4 squared and 4 squared will be square root of 32. Now, if you break down square root of 32, 16 and 2, 4 and 4, 2, 2, 2, 2. How does that simplify?
Would it be
4 root 2.
2 on the inside?
Okay, so what we were supposed to check is that the length of the 2 root 2 segment is equal to 1/2 the length of the 4 root 2 segment, right? That's what it said up here to show. It said show this. So show that that answer and that answer are related by one of them being half the other. And that's true. right? Half of 4 root 2 is 2 root 2. You don't do anything with the number underneath the radical. You just divide the 4 by 2.